So yesterday we planted up the paddy field with rice, but we kept some back because it's still a little bit experimental, you know, in terms of finding the right time of year for planting things out for, you know, the best chance of success. It's all experimental. No one's really done it this far north, as far as I'm aware. So just belt and braces. We keep some in pots. This one will have 2 in. That's going to go into the house and go onto a windowsill. And these will be planted up as well, and these will stay in the greenhouse, so that if a freak storm comes through and takes it out, or, you know, I mean, it's a farm, it's a croft, you know, we've got voles, shrews, and mice. There's the odd rat wanders by, you know. There's pests, there's crows, and crows mess with all sorts of stuff. So just so if something does happen to it that's completely unexpected, we've got a backup seed supply. 2 or 3 plants will give you enough rice to plant up an entire paddy at the sort of size that we're doing. That's a couple of 100 plants. So there's a lot of resiliency in having these planted up, and just kept somewhere a little bit safe. Now, last year, obviously we didn't start out with hundreds of seeds. We bought a couple of packets from Baker Creek in the US and had it imported, and grew it out in buckets just like this, and produced enough successfully to give us more than enough rice for this year. And once you've got some, that's that done. Once you've got viable seed, it stores a lot longer than most. But we're trialling another type of rice this year, which is a Japanese upland variety called Hayayuki, I think it is. And we've been told by someone there's actually grown rice in the UK. We got in touch via Facebook, the internet's good. And he's done both those varieties in the UK. I'm not sure if it's Scotland, but he's done both those varieties in the UK. And according to him, the Hayayuki looked like it was lagging a bit at first, but by the end of the season overtook the Tobolskian, which is what this is, which is a Ukrainian Russian variety. So it hasn't been the best viable seed, which is probably down to the seed rather than the variety, because we have grown out rice successfully. So what we're going to do is
the Hayayuki, you mean?
Yeah, the Hayayuki. We're going to do the same treatment with that as this, and in a different room, so we haven't got to worry about cross-pollination. We'll put a few pots on a windowsill and we'll grow out a load of that, so that that'll give us plenty for next year, because if this goes well, we're going to put a second paddy field in probably this autumn, next spring. So we'll have 2 paddy fields next year, because that's one of the good things about rice, is you don't have to rest the land. You can grow the same crop year in, year out. Let's put another one in here.
Did you want to mention about the wind pollination?
Yeah, if you're growing them indoors though, because the wind pollinated, that will not work well. You won't get a good crop at all. So at the point that they start putting on seed heads and they start dropping pollen, it's very obvious, you can't miss it. It's great big fat yellow pollen grains. Just give it the odd shake. You know, you have to do with chilies and things like that as well. They don't
Tomatoes.
And tomatoes, yeah. And you can see that is enough to produce kilos of rice, you know, as seed. And you can see we've still got loads left. And some of these are really healthy plants. So we're going to put them somewhere else, we're not just going to write them off. And yeah, that's how you grow rice in buckets. Now, when these have got into the final positions, I will top them off with a bit of water, just so they're really saturated. Rice doesn't generally always need flooding. They're grown in paddy fields because, mostly, because the water favours the rice, other plants can't compete with it, knocks them down, so minimises weeding, and of course the rice manages with it. And over thousands of years of selective breeding, rice is really tolerant of flooding, but it's mostly pretty tolerant of drying out as well a little bit. And certain rice techniques, like the SRA technique that they came up with a few years ago, actually uses drying the paddy out periodically for most of its time, really. It only gets flooded a few times. So yeah, it's absolutely not necessary, but because it tolerates it, this is a plant that you can absolutely overwater, doesn't care, and then you can come back to it a week later and do exactly the same thing again. Most plants really hate that sort of treatment. Rice loves it. So yeah, if you're interested in growing rice, this is an easy way of doing it, dabbling a little bit, have a go with it, and you haven't got to go to the full expense and hassle and commitment of digging a paddy field.